and welcome back to another episode of Modeling in Korea. My name is Sofia and I'm a Swedish model living and working here in Seoul, South Korea. And welcome to my series where I discuss things that I think is essential for you to know before coming to Korea on the E6 visa to work as a model. In today's episode, I wanted to talk about tax invoices and kind of explain briefly how tax invoices work in Korea when you work as a freelance model. To me, it's very interesting to know how it works so that I understand how to calculate my money better and so that I also can understand what's going on when I'm asking for all these details from my clients, and I can help them understand why they need to pay taxes, which sounds silly, but I've had a few times in my career where clients told me, well, I don't need to pay tax. I'm like, well, yes, you do. And they said, no, but I don't need to do that. And I'm like, well, if you're going to work with me, you're going to have to pay tax. That's just how it is. Like, I work legally. I don't work illegally. So I want to pay tax. Otherwise, you have to find another model, basically. It's really important that you are filing your taxes, which is something your agency does for you. Then every year, sure, you get the tax return and you have to, log in or like go to your closest tax office to just report your taxes from the last year, and either you get money back or you will pay some, or if you actually hire a private accountant on the side to help you if you need to, but your agency is supposed to file all your taxes for you. I actually just came back from immigration office because I went to renew my visa today together with my agency. And when I'm renewing my visa, I touched on this in one of my previous videos, I have to show proof of income. So I have to show them how much I made previous year, or as right now, the taxes for 2022 is yet not out. So I have to prove taxes from 2021. But you need to make a certain amount of money to keep living here. I am still unsure how much it is, if it's 6 million or 8 million. I keep forgetting to ask and call immigration because every time I call I have another question. That's also something you're gonna have to get used to when you live here. It's like you're constantly having trouble. You're constantly working against everything. And it's kind of like swimming upstream. There's always things that just happens, like you have to pay this, and it's like, why, what is it? And it's like, it's just something you have to pay, and I'm like, I don't understand what it is, and it's just very frustrating. There's a lot of things like that. It's about 6 to 8 million, but that could also change within the next year. I don't know, who knows, honestly. They change things all the time, but I would call to immigration and ask myself if I were you, just to double check. So when you're doing a job, your agency is going to send a tax invoice to your client, and that is like them proving to the government that we are working here legally, that we're doing stuff legally. Let me give you a simple example so you can kind of understand the taxes a little bit better and the system, everything. And also I kind of want to give you this example so you can look at your income yourself and kind of understand what's going on. Your agency is going to use something called home tax, which is a system where they file your taxes. It's also through home tax later you're going to get your tax report back every year. So home tax is the system Korea uses. I don't know why it's called home tax, but it's called home tax. So what they do is your agency is going to ask you to ask your client for their business registration. And on their business registration, you get their number and the company name. And they need these to file taxes. So what they do is they go into the system, they log in, they put in the name of the company and the business registration. They put in the amount of money that you're getting from this job. So let's say 100,000 won. To make it simple. Then the system automatically is gonna add on 10% of VAT. And VAT is something that the client pays. You don't pay that. And I've heard that people say, well, my client doesn't pay VAT, but that means that you're gonna have to pay VAT then, because someone has to pay the VAT. So that's what the client is supposed to pay to show that, hey, we are doing stuff legally. If you have 100,000 won plus 10% in VAT, that's 10,000 won more, together 110,000 won. That's what the tax invoice is gonna say to your client. The client sends that, your agency takes the 10% extra, 10,001, they pay it to the government to show, look, we're all working legally here. And then next year, when the taxes are done, if that client paid too much taxes, for example, they're gonna get money back. So that's just like you're paying your taxes as well. So it's actually really simple, but some clients doesn't really like paying that because it means that they have to pay more right now. But as a freelance model, you don't want to end up in a situation where you work illegally. So I know they might be a little bit like, oh, I don't really want to pay that, but you want them to pay that because otherwise you might get problems. So you send a tax invoice, 100,001 plus 10,001 in VAT tax, 10%. So 110,001. Your agency receives that, gives away 10,001 in taxes for the other company. Then you have the 100,001 left. And let's say your agency takes 20% of that. That means that you're down to 80,001. That's your money. But that also depends on what percentage agreement you have with your agency. I'm just using 20% because it's easy for this example. It's going to be different depending on which agency you're in. So from the 80,001, that's your money. You are going to have to pay 3.3% tax yourself. Take 80,001 times 0.967. That's 3.3% tax. 77,360,001. Yeah, I had to double check that. So just to make it easy, let's just say 77,001. That's what you're getting from this job in the end. Whenever I get a job, whatever money I'm receiving, I'm always calculating, okay, this is much percentage my agency is going to take from this job. This is how much tax I'm paying. So in the end, I'm actually getting this much. And it helps me kind of budget for the month a little bit better, like getting me a better understanding of how much I'm getting. Because it's so easy to start adding up, like, oh, 500,000 one here, 1 million one here, this and that. And it sounds like a lot, but then you get your money. You're like, why am I missing a lot of money? Well, yeah, my agency takes percentage and I have to pay tax. So for me personally, I just like having that kind of knowledge and control. I think I mentioned before, I'm a little bit of a control freak. It just gives me, as I said, a better overview of my money and my income. And whenever I'm talking to my clients, if they're asking why they need to give me their business registration, I can explain that it's because my agency needs to send a tax invoice with the VAT. And some clients might say, oh, well, the VAT is included in the price. I would say you shouldn't agree to that because that probably means that you're gonna have to pay it, if I have understood that right. Because if you're gonna do it legally, someone has to pay the VAT. And that means that if they say that it's 500,001 that you're getting for a payment and the VAT is included, that means that some money of that is already going to the government. And then your agency is taking a percentage and then you have to pay your tax. So then you get even less money. So I would always say the VAT is excluded of the price and that they need to pay that separately. And usually there's not a problem. No one really has a problem with that. And once in a while I've had someone that said like, oh, we can't do that, we're so sorry, we can only work with models who don't send tax invoices. And I'm like, okay, fine, but then you can't work with me because I don't want to do that. Because in the end, if you want to be able to renew your visa, you need to make a certain amount of money and prove that to the government so you can actually renew. Then I kind of also wanted to say that it's really important to keep track of your income and your payments. My current agency has a pretty clear system where I know who's paying when and all that. Like, they help me keep track of my clients' payments. In my previous agency, they sent me money whenever they got paid, so they had their own system, but at the same time I still needed to keep track of when my clients were paying. So what I used to do is I used to have like a notes on my phone where I wrote down for every month, okay, I'm doing this job on this date, this is the amount of payment they're gonna give me, and on this day is the day they're gonna pay. So I could check in with my agency, be like, hey, did they pay you this day? Oh, I know they were supposed to pay me yesterday, but I didn't see any money coming in from you. and then they could check and be like, oh no, they haven't paid. So I could go and like contact the client directly and be like, hey, you were supposed to pay me yesterday and I haven't received anything. Is everything, you know, going as it should? So it's just a way for you to keep track of actually getting paid for all your jobs. Because sure, anything can happen. I'm not saying that these clients try to like not pay me. It just happens sometimes. Or I've had times where they made calculations wrong and they sent too little money to my agency, but then since I kept everything written down, then I would know that, oh my gosh, you're supposed to pay me 25,001 more. I'm really sorry for bothering you. I think something went wrong. And they would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, there was some miscalculation. So it's just good to keep track of things yourself, just so that you know how much money you're making, when they're coming in, when they're supposed to come in, if they paid or not. But I would just recommend you finding a system that works for you. Maybe having a note on your phone is not for you. Maybe you want to write it down somewhere. Maybe you have an Excel sheet on your computer. But I would, as I said, really recommend you to have a way of tracking your money, so you know who paid and not. Actually, a lot of people don't really understand how taxes work, and I just think it's something that helps you a lot in your negotiation too. Because if you know how much money you're losing for taxes and commissions and stuff, it helps you understand the pricing of your job and time as well. But yeah, I hope that clarified some things about taxes and how it works. I don't know if anyone was actually interested in knowing this, but I find it very interesting and I really like knowing how things work, so I can plan my months and my income better and my expenses. So hopefully this helped you a little bit. If you like this video, please leave a comment, like and subscribe. If you have any questions about modeling in Korea or living on E6, please ask them down below and I will try to make a Q&A video later. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I wish you a lovely day. Bye!